What is the weirdest thing you ever witnessed? I answered the wrong phone, in the wrong house, and got the right person. Let me explain. I used to do computer repair work in high school. This was back in the days of the modem, which was a device that connected to your phone line. My boss complained that his modem was dead, and as was standard procedure of the time, I connected a phone to the modem to check for a dial tone. Almost immediately, the phone rang. This is odd, since this phone line isn't published, and never has a phone connected to it. So, I figured it was going to be a wrong number and answered it. As soon as I picked it up and said, "Hello," single quote, I got, "Hey and Lieutenant. User 1539 and GT. It's Rob. You want to come to the mall to see a movie with me tonight?" Single quote. I asked, "How did you get this number?" Single quote. And he explained that he didn't know I was at work, and dialed my home phone number. He must have misdialed my home phone number, and accidentally keyed in the number for a phone that's never connected. At my job, where I happened to be testing the line at that very second, he dialed the wrong number, got the wrong phone, and got the right person. The chances of that must be astronomical. Did you go to the movie? We need answers up. I was driving down the freeway and traffic came to a sudden stop. Up ahead were half a dozen police cruisers. We slowly filed past in the inside emergency lane and a number of officers were behind their doors, weapons drawn. As I get closer I see one officer running for his life, looking scared shitless. What had a dozen trained cops so on edge? A fucking goat. The cops were trying to wrangle a goat that had escaped from the adjacent field. Somehow I wish all traffic jams ended that way. Guess they weren't kidding around. BAAAAHD boys, BAAAAHD boys, what you gonna chew? One time I was driving through Nevada, probably about 30 minutes before Vegas. My friend and I were headed to Utah from California, and needed a bathroom break. So we stopped at some gas station for a minute. While we were in the bathroom, 4 FedEx delivery employees in their full uniforms came walking in, and all 4 piled into one bathroom stall, without a word being spoken. Also, not a sound in the stall. My friend and I looked at each other and speed walked out, barely able to contain our laughter. Once we were outside, there was no FedEx vehicle in sight. I really have no idea what the explanation for that was. Cocaine break. Bingo. This is pretty tame and innocent, but still a 10 out of 10 on my weird scale. At a property out in the country, I was speaking with an elderly homeowner when I noticed a ladder laying horizontally connecting the second-floor bedroom window with a tree outside. I asked about it, and her eyes went wide. She said to me, "I will tell you, if you promise to tell no one." Okay, sure. Please. You must tell no one, but that is for the raccoon. You have a raccoon. Quote, I raised him from a baby. Once he grew up, he became mean towards me and I can no longer hold him, monsieur. The ladder is how he gets in and out of the house. Every evening, we have tea and toast together. Then he goes out for the night and returns in the morning. Oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad. Then she brought me in the house, and took out a box from under the sink. It was full of things like earrings, necklaces, rings, coins, and watches, anything at all shiny. He brings me things. If the neighbors find out, they will take him, monsieur. Please tell no one. Monsieur. Yeah. TLDR, elderly woman in an abusive relationship with a klepto-raccoon has a treasure chest. Well, you didn't hold that promise. Well, it's not like I specified which town she is from, monsieur. Watched a dude on PCP try to cleave his own skull open with a shovel once. That sucks, but it reminded me how much I love the word cleave. It can mean to split something apart or stick things together. Literally 2 opposite meanings for the same word. Words and people should do words instead of PCP. One night I woke up unexpectedly and noticed red and blue strobes seeping in through my curtains. I looked out the window and there was a pair of police squad cars blocking the intersection in front of my house. I looked around the neighborhood from inside my house, and could see the next two closest intersections were blocked off, too. If I stared long enough I could make out red and blue strobes coming from a fourth intersection in my neighborhood. So I sat in my living room, watching 7 or 8 squad cars, blocking 4 intersections with their lights on, but no sirens. I watched them for an hour waiting for something to happen. After an hour of boredom I couldn't take it anymore and I went back to bed. There was nothing reported in the papers. There was nothing on Nextdoor. There was nothing I could find on the internet. It was like it didn't happen. Police run drills like this a lot. Or it's something they covered up and filed it as a drill. Either way, not terribly uncommon. I once saw a completely naked lady standing in the kitchen of a restaurant, with several of the employees just standing there cooking, like she wasn't even standing there. And the kitchen wasn't even hidden. There was a big window from the dining area where anyone could look in. To this day I still have no clue as to what the fuck was going on in that kitchen. What? Oh, that's just Barbara. She does. Then she lies down and they place the sushi on her. My go-to answer for this is a FedEx guy unloading boxes into an empty field. I think he thought no one was around. I was alone at the office. And I don't own a car, so the lot was empty. This FedEx truck pulls up not far from my window and the guy hops out and heaves 2 boxes into this shallow depression. Once he drove off I went out and checked and those boxes were addressed to a hospital. I tried contacting FedEx about it. I figured they'd have, like, schedules or package manifests or something to track down who was due to be driving what. But all they asked me is what color the FedEx logo on the truck was. Apparently there are different colors, and they mean different things. Sounds like a drug shipment to me. A clown driving a VW Golf. Probably just a guy returning from work, but it was a pretty bizarre sight. Once upon a time many years ago, I slept over at a new friend's house for the first time. I was the first one up the next morning, so I went downstairs to get a glass of water or something. In the kitchen was a full-blown circus clown sitting at the table, casually enjoying a cup of coffee and reading the newspaper. The clown smiled and said good morning. I said good morning back. I was baffled, but I didn't want to be rude or awkward, so I went about my business while we exchanged pleasantries. Then the clown stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. When my friend eventually got up, I told him that I didn't want to alarm him, but there was totally a clown just chilling in the kitchen a little while ago. And that's how I found out that his dad occasionally volunteered as a clown down at the children's hospital. As another clown. Bet he was kind of let down when he didn't have much reaction. Unless you had an obvious what the fuck face going on. First day in my new duplex. It's snowing, coming down hard, already snowed 4 inches. Someone drives up in a beat-up minivan, and starts looking around suspiciously. He then behind unloading garbage bags into my dumpster. It was suspicious behavior given the weather, so I went out and tore open one of the bags. It was filled with clean winter clothes. The other 3 bags were too. It was at least an entire wardrobe of clean clothing that this guy came to a residential area to throw away during a blizzard. What did you? My neighbors punished their kid by making him rake leaves naked. I did a triple take before calling them and saying you can't do that. They've used nudity as punishment a few times over there. I don't get it. They're a weird family. In public. I think that'd be reason to call the cops. Worked as a florist a few years ago and my boss was being paranoid about a briefcase laying on the sidewalk outside. I tried telling him that nobody was going to bomb a florist on a Tuesday in the middle of October, with 3 employees inside. Nope. He called the cops. Bomb squad came. 7 police officers, my boss yelling bomb and my colleague, bless his sweetness, was singing Aliyaka watering plants while clapping his hands together. The memory still gets me face-bombing. And GT, my boss yelling bomb, and my colleague, bless his sweetness, was singing Aliyaka watering plants while clapping his hands together. This is straight out of Bob's Burgers. Had to Google it. I've never watched an episode. Huge fan of cartoons though, so if this is anything like BoJack Horseman or Adventure Time, I'll make note to watch it. Went to Amsterdam with a few friends and tried truffles on our last night. Cut to my friend and I laid face down outside our room in the hotel's corridor watching people go by at around 6:30 am. Monsieur. We're watching and this guy comes from the end of the corridor. Totally ordinary looking, carrying a briefcase, then takes a right by the elevator. A minute later the exact same fucking guy emerges from the same place and does the same thing. Walks towards us, then takes a right at the elevators and disappears out of view. I looked at my friend and she saw the exact same thing.